Ambassador Carter walked into the Galaxy Council chamber for the final time, but everything had changed completely. Where thousands of alien delegates once sat in comfortable chairs making decisions that affected billions of lives, now only a few dozen remained. The great species that had ruled the galaxy were reduced to small groups of survivors begging for humanity's mercy. The chamber itself had been redesigned to make the new power structure absolutely clear. The Zephyrian delegation consisted of 3 individuals representing what remained of their crystal civilization after human forces had systematically eliminated their government and military leadership. The survivors trembled as they sat in simple metal chairs instead of the elaborate crystal thrones they had occupied during the years of alien dominance. Their once proud empire was now administered by human governors who treated them like children, who needed constant supervision. Captain Morrison had been promoted to Admiral of the Human Fleet and now commanded forces that patrolled every system in known space. His flagship orbited above the former council chamber as a constant reminder of human military power. No alien ship could move between star systems without human permission. No alien government could make decisions without human approval. The species that had once considered themselves humanity's superiors now lived under absolute human control. The Vorthan Empire that had once boasted about conquering dozens of species was represented by a single terrified bureaucrat whose homeworld now orbited under the guns of human battle stations. The mighty Vorthan armadas that had struck fear into alien hearts for centuries existed only in history books. Their ships had been destroyed or converted for human use. Their officers served as advisors to human commanders who treated them with the same casual contempt the Vorthans had once shown to humans. Commander Hayes established the new military doctrine that would govern galactic civilization for the foreseeable future. Human vessels would maintain bases in every system. Human forces would respond to any sign of alien rebellion with immediate and total destruction. Any species that showed signs of developing weapons or organizing resistance would be eliminated before they could become a threat to human security. The terms of surrender were not negotiations between equals. They were commands issued by humanity's representatives to broken alien civilizations that had no choice but to obey. Every species would withdraw their remaining forces from contested systems and turn over all military equipment to human authorities. All alien technology would be shared freely with humanity, while human scientific knowledge remained classified at the highest levels. Dr. Foster's scientific teams dismantled alien research facilities and relocated their contents to human installations, scattered throughout the galaxy. The accumulated knowledge of millions of years of alien civilization became humanity's property to use as they saw fit. Alien scientists found themselves working as junior assistants to human researchers who treated their former masters' greatest discoveries as interesting historical curiosities. The reparations demanded by humanity were calculated to bankrupt every alien species and ensure they could never again challenge human dominance. The Zephyrians, who had murdered 40,000 innocent humans on the colony ship Second Dawn, would spend centuries paying for their crime. Every credit of alien wealth would flow into human accounts until the debt was satisfied in full. Captain Morrison announced that the Galaxy Council was permanently dissolved and replaced by the Human Colonial Administration. The new government would be run entirely by humans for the benefit of humanity. Alien species could petition for consideration of their needs, but they had no right to expect favorable treatment. The age of alien political power was over forever. The most humiliating aspect of the new order was how easily humans had accomplished their conquest. Alien military experts had spent their entire lives studying warfare and strategy, but they had been outmaneuvered by a species they considered primitive. Human agents had infiltrated every aspect of alien society while pretending to be helpless refugees seeking protection. Commander Hayes took personal satisfaction in visiting the Vorthon Military Academy, where their greatest strategic minds had been trained. The institution that had produced generations of alien conquerors was now a training facility for human officers. Former Vorthon generals taught courses on the mistakes that had led to their civilization's destruction, while human cadets learned how to avoid similar errors. The alien species that survived the transition to human rule did so by accepting their new status as subject peoples with no political rights or military capabilities. They worked at jobs assigned by human administrators. They lived in areas designated by human planners. They followed laws written by human legislators who felt no obligation to consider alien opinions or traditions. Dr. Foster established research priorities that focused entirely on human needs and interests. Alien scientists who had once led galaxy-spanning projects now spent their time on minor tasks assigned by human supervisors. Their advanced degrees and centuries of experience meant nothing to humans who viewed them as defeated enemies rather than respected colleagues. The psychological transformation was as complete as the military conquest. Alien children grew up, learning human languages and human history. They were taught that their species had been saved from their own violent and destructive nature by wise human intervention. The idea that aliens had once ruled the galaxy became as ridiculous as suggesting that insects should govern mammals. Captain Morrison reflected on how completely the situation had reversed during his regular inspection tours of former alien strongholds. Bases that had once projected alien power across vast regions of space were now museums displaying the primitive weapons and outdated tactics that had proven useless against human technology. Alien visitors paid admission fees to view exhibits showing how their ancestors had failed so catastrophically. The galaxy had taught humanity important lessons during those 3 diplomatic years when aliens had treated them as inferior beings worthy of contempt and casual violence. The most important lesson was that mercy and restraint were interpreted as weakness by species that respected only strength and feared only power. Humanity had learned that lesson thoroughly and would never repeat the mistake of showing kindness to potential enemies. Ambassador Carter's final speech to the remaining alien delegates made the new reality absolutely clear. Humanity had wanted to join the galactic community as partners working together for mutual benefit. Instead, they had become the galaxy's undisputed masters through necessity rather than choice. The aliens had forced this outcome through their own cruelty and short-sightedness. Commander Hayes established monitoring systems that would ensure alien compliance with human rules for generations to come. Every alien communication was intercepted and analyzed. Every alien gathering was observed by human agents. Every alien leader was evaluated for signs of disloyalty or rebellion. The species that had once spied on humanity now lived under constant surveillance by their former victims. Dr. Foster's greatest achievement was creating technology that made human dominance permanent and irreversible. Weapons that could destroy planets from across the galaxy. Sensors that could detect alien thoughts and intentions. Computers that could predict and prevent rebellion before it began. The aliens would never again have the opportunity to threaten human survival. Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched alien vessels scurry out of the path of his fleet like insects fleeing from giants. The transformation was complete and irreversible. Humanity had tried diplomacy and been rewarded with murder. They had offered friendship and received contempt. They had shown mercy and been repaid with cruelty. The galaxy had gone too far in its treatment of humanity, and now it would live forever with. The news of the Vorthon defeat spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Species that had ruled sectors for thousands of years suddenly realized they were not the most powerful force in space. The humans they had treated like primitive. Animals possessed technology that made their greatest weapons look like stone tools. Panic spread through alien governments as they tried to understand how badly they had miscalculated. Captain Morrison received intelligence reports showing alien fleets fleeing toward the edge of known space. The Maltese Confederation was evacuating their core worlds. The Kepler Alliance had recalled all their ships to defend their homeworld. Even the ancient Centaurian Republic was activating defense systems that had not been used for centuries. The galaxy's rulers were terrified of the species they had spent 3 years humiliating. Commander Hayes led human forces in a systematic campaign to destroy every major alien military installation in the galaxy. His ships appeared without warning, at bases that were supposed to be secret. Human intelligence networks had spent 3 years mapping every alien fortress and recording every defensive capability. Now that information was being used to eliminate alien military power completely. Chapter Assault on Andromeda Station was planned as both a military strike and a demonstration of human superiority. The massive space fortress served as headquarters for the Galaxy Council's military forces and was protected by shields that aliens claimed could stop any weapon. 500 of the galaxy's most advanced warships defended the station along, with automated defense systems that covered every approach. Dr. Foster had designed special weapons specifically for attacking Andromeda Station. Her teams had studied the fortress for months and identified weaknesses that alien engineers did not know existed. The station's legendary shields would last exactly 30 seconds against human plasma lances that operated by turning matter directly into energy. Commander Hayes brought 20 human ships against the station's 500 defenders. The odds looked impossible until the fighting actually started. Human vessels moved faster than alien sensors could track and struck with weapons that ignored every form of protection. Alien ships exploded so quickly that their crews never had time to send distress signals. The battle was recorded by human cameras and broadcast across the galaxy to show every alien species what happened when they opposed humanity. Ship after ship vanished in brilliant flashes as human weapons converted them into expanding clouds of superheated plasma. The mighty alien fleet managed to destroy exactly 0 human vessels while losing everything they had. Captain Morrison watched Andromeda Station's shields collapse under concentrated fire from human energy weapons. The fortress that had never been successfully attacked was torn apart in minutes by forces that alien scientists insisted were physically impossible. When the shooting stopped, the station was an expanding debris field that would serve as a monument to human military superiority. The psychological impact of Andromeda Station's destruction was greater than the military victory. Alien species across the galaxy realized that their most powerful defensive installation had been eliminated almost casually by human forces. If Andromeda Station could not stop human weapons, then no alien fortress or fleet could protect them from humanity's wrath. Dr. Foster's research teams began appearing simultaneously at alien research facilities across the galaxy. Human forces surrounded the installations and demanded immediate surrender of all technology and scientific data. Alien scientists who had spent lifetimes developing advanced systems watched helplessly as humans confiscated the work of entire civilizations. The raids were surgical and precise because humans had been planning them for years. Every important alien laboratory had been infiltrated by human agents posing as workers or suppliers. When the attacks began, human forces knew exactly where to find the most valuable research and how to disable any security systems that tried to stop them. Commander Hayes personally led the assault on the Zephyrian Military Academy, where their best officers were trained. The Crystal Aliens had always boasted about their superior tactical abilities and advanced strategic thinking. They discovered that human military doctrine was so far beyond their understanding that their greatest generals could not comprehend what was happening to them. The Academy's defenses were designed to stop conventional alien attacks using predictable weapons and familiar tactics. Human forces used quantum tunneling to appear inside the facility's shields. They employed weapons that could target individual enemies through solid walls. The Zephyrian cadets found themselves fighting an enemy that could strike from any direction. Using tools beyond their imagination, Captain Morrison established new human military bases in every major star system. The installations were not hidden or disguised like the old human colonies. These were massive fortresses that dominated local space and made it clear who controlled the galaxy now. Alien ships had to request permission to enter systems that they had once ruled absolutely. The transformation was swift and total. Within months of the unleashing, human ships patrolled every major trade route. Human bases occupied every strategic position. Human forces controlled every important resource in known space. The species that had once dismissed humanity as inferior carbon-based life forms now lived under constant human surveillance. Dr. Foster took control of the galaxy's most advanced research installations and began integrating alien knowledge with human technology. The combination produced weapons and systems that were even more devastating than anything humans had revealed so far. Each new breakthrough made human dominance more complete and alien resistance more hopeless. The Kepler Alliance attempted one final desperate attack on a human supply convoy, thinking they could strike quickly and escape before human reinforcements arrived. They discovered that every human vessel was capable of defending itself against entire fleets. The supply ships they had targeted as easy prey destroyed the attacking force so completely that no debris remained to mark where the battle had occurred. Commander Hayes received surrender requests from alien governments across the galaxy. Species that had once considered themselves the masters of space now begged for mercy from the humans they had tried to exterminate. The requests were filed away and ignored while human forces continued their systematic elimination of alien military capabilities. The final major battle occurred when the ancient Centaurian Republic activated a secret weapon they had been saving for thousands of years. The device was supposed to be capable of destroying entire star systems and had never been used because its power was too terrible to contemplate. The Centaurians fired their ultimate weapon at a human fleet and waited to see solar systems burning. Captain Morrison's ships absorbed the energy from the Centaurian weapon and used it to power their own systems. The attack that was supposed to destroy human forces instead made them stronger. Human technology was so advanced that it could turn the galaxy's most powerful weapons into useful tools. The Centaurians surrendered immediately after witnessing this demonstration. The age of alien supremacy was over. Species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia were reduced to trembling remnants hiding in their home systems. The humans they had treated as primitive inferiors now controlled every aspect of galactic civilization. There would be no mercy for those who had murdered human families and no forgiveness for 3 years of casual cruelty. Dr. Foster stood in what had once been the Galaxy Council's most secure research facility and surveyed the alien technology that now belonged to humanity. Weapons that had taken centuries to develop, shields that had protected empires, engines that had carried alien fleets across vast distances. All of it was human property now and would be used to ensure that no alien species ever again threatened human survival. Captain Morrison stood on his bridge and watched his crew remove panels that had hidden humanity's greatest secrets for 3 long years. The walls opened to reveal weapons systems that could destroy entire fleets. The ship's computer activated, programs that had been sleeping and waiting for this moment. The new frontier transformed from a diplomatic vessel into something that could crack planets in half. His communications officer reported that every human ship in the galaxy was doing the same thing. Cargo ships revealed massive hidden weapon arrays. Science vessels activated shields that could stop any alien attack. Even small scout ships opened secret compartments containing enough firepower to level cities. The aliens had no idea what was coming. Commander Hayes felt his ship, the Iron Will, come alive with power as hidden systems activated throughout the hull. The vessel had pretended to be a simple patrol craft, but now showed its true nature as a heavy weapons platform capable of fighting entire alien fleets. His crew worked with quiet efficiency as they brought online systems that alien engineers would call impossible. The first target was chosen carefully to send the clearest possible message. The Zephyrian home system contained their capital world and their most important military bases. The crystal aliens who had murdered the families on the Second Dawn were about to learn why humans had been so patient for 3 years. They had been cataloging every alien world and recording every target. A single human ship translated out of quantum space 30,000 kilometers from the main Zephyrian world. The destroyer final warning appeared on alien sensors and immediately sent a message to the planet below. The transmission was simple and direct. Surrender your military forces immediately, or watch your moon become a cloud of superheated gas. You have 10 minutes to decide. The Zephyrians responded with typical arrogance and contempt. Their fleet commanders laughed at the small human ship and sent 100 warships to destroy it. They broadcast messages calling humans primitive fools, who had no idea what real military power looked like. The crystal aliens were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. The final warning fired once. A beam of pure energy reached out across space and touched the Zephyrian moon. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the entire moon began to glow like a small sun as its matter was converted directly into plasma. Within seconds, the moon, that had orbited the Zephyrian homeworld for millions of years, was nothing but expanding gas and radiation. Dr. Foster watched the demonstration from her hidden command center deep beneath the surface of Neptune's largest moon. Her prison ship had never reached the alien detention facility because human forces had intercepted it and brought her to see humanity's greatest secret. The research facility she now commanded made alien laboratories look like primitive workshops, run by children. The quantum drives that Foster had pretended to struggle with were actually simplified versions of engines that could fold space and time. The weapons she had accidentally discovered were baby toys compared to the systems now coming online across human space. Humanity had not spent 3 years trying to catch up with alien technology. They had spent 3 years pretending to be weak, while building weapons beyond alien imagination. Commander Hayes received reports from across the galaxy as human forces revealed themselves simultaneously. Colonies that aliens thought were struggling farming settlements activated planetary defense systems that could destroy approaching fleets. Mining operations that seemed barely profitable unveiled massive industrial complexes that had been producing weapons and ships for years. The human colony on the barren world of Kepler-186 suddenly bristled with weapons emplacements and shield generators that made it look like a military fortress. The desperate refugees that aliens had allowed to settle there were actually highly trained soldiers and engineers who had been preparing for this moment. Similar transformations occurred on every human world across the galaxy. Captain Morrison opened a communication channel to the Galaxy Council and delivered humanity's final diplomatic message. His words were broadcast to every alien world and every alien leader simultaneously. The age of human patience was over. The age of alien dominance was ending. The species that had treated humans like animals were about to become humanity's subjects. The Zephyrian government surrendered within 6 hours of watching their moon disappear. Similar demonstrations occurred throughout their empire as human ships appeared at military bases and industrial centers. Each ship fired once to show what would happen if the crystal aliens chose to fight. Weapons platforms that had taken decades to build were vaporized in seconds by human technology that operated on principles alien scientists could not understand. Dr. Foster's teams activated installations that had been hidden throughout the galaxy. Research stations disguised as asteroid mining operations revealed themselves as quantum laboratories that could produce weapons in real time. Trading posts that seemed to barely break even were actually intelligence-gathering centers that had been mapping alien weaknesses for years. The humans had not been trying to join alien civilization as equals. They had been infiltrating it as conquerors. Every human diplomat had also been a spy. Every human trader had gathered military intelligence. Every human scientist had been secretly working on projects that would revolutionize warfare. The aliens had welcomed their future masters into their homes. Commander Hayes led the first assault on a major alien military installation. The fortress at Wolf 359 was supposed to be impregnable with shields that could stop any weapon and weapons that could destroy any ship. The alien commanders were confident that their superior technology would crush any human attack. They learned. Otherwise, in less than 5 minutes, human weapons cut through alien shields like they were made of paper. Alien armor that was supposed to stop any projectile melted under human energy weapons. Defensive systems that had protected the fortress for centuries were overwhelmed and destroyed by targeting computers that could predict their movements faster than they could react. The Battle of Wolf 359 became famous not because it was difficult, but because it was so completely one-sided. A fortress that had never fallen to any alien enemy was reduced to wreckage by a human force that suffered 0 casualties. The alien survivors spent the rest of their lives trying to understand how humans had made their best technology look like primitive tools. Captain Morrison watched reports come in from across the galaxy as human forces struck simultaneously at hundreds of targets. Every major alien military base was either destroyed or forced to surrender. Alien fleets that tried to respond to the attacks found themselves facing weapons they could not comprehend and shields they could not penetrate. The Vorthon Empire mobilized their famous 1,000-ship armada to crush the human rebellion before it could spread. Their fleet admiral was confident that overwhelming numbers would prevail against human technology. He led his ships toward the human base at Wolf 359, expecting an easy victory against primitive human weapons. What the Vorthons found waiting was not the small human force they expected. Captain Morrison's true flagship was revealed for the first time. The massive dreadnought Human Pride was so large it had its own gravitational field and could hold smaller ships in its docking bays. Around it waited 50 vessels of similar impossible scale. The battle lasted 4 minutes. The Vorthon armada that had conquered dozens of species was systematically destroyed by weapons that turned matter into energy. Ship after ship disappeared, in flashes of light as human targeting systems eliminated them faster than alien sensors could track. When the shooting stopped, exactly one Vorthon vessel remained intact. Dr. Foster had insisted that one enemy ship be spared to carry news of the woe. Battle back to Vorthon space. The surviving captain was given recordings of the battle and detailed scans showing how completely human technology outclassed anything the aliens possessed. His mission was to convince his people that surrender was their only hope for survival. Commander Hayes watched the last Vorthon ship limp away from the battlefield and felt no satisfaction in the victory. Too many humans had died during the 3 years of patience and diplomacy. Too many families had been destroyed by alien cruelty and indifference. The galaxy had forced humanity to reveal its true strength, and now every alien species would pay the price for that mistake. The emergency alert woke Captain Morrison from his sleep and sent him running to the bridge. The message was short, but it changed everything. The colony ship Second Dawn was gone. 40,000 human men, women, and children had been traveling to their new home on a planet called Kepler 442 when something terrible happened. The official report from the Galaxy Council said the ship had an accident with its navigation system and crashed into an asteroid. Ambassador Carter read the same report in her office and knew immediately that every word was a lie. She had seen the Second Dawn just 2 weeks before, and its navigation systems were perfect. The ship's captain was one of the best pilots in the human fleet and would never make such a basic mistake. She demanded to see the evidence and talk to survivors, but the council representatives just shrugged and said, "Accidents happen in space." Commander Hayes was reviewing supply reports when his communication system started receiving weak signals from escape pods. The voices were faint and broken, but the message was clear. Zephyrian warships had appeared without warning and opened fire on the Second Dawn. The colony ship had no weapons and no shields because humans were not allowed to arm civilian vessels. 40,000 innocent people had been murdered in cold blood, and the Galaxy Council was calling it an accident. The escape pod recordings were played in secret meetings across human space. Terrified voices described how the crystal aliens had laughed as they fired on helpless families, children crying for their parents, parents screaming for their children. The lucky ones died quickly when the ship's hull was torn apart. The unlucky ones suffocated slowly as air leaked out into empty space. Dr. Foster heard the recordings while working in her fake primitive laboratory. She listened to the voices of children who would never grow up and parents who would never see home again. Her hands shook as she realized that all her secret research and hidden weapons meant nothing if humans were not allowed to use them. The aliens could kill any human at any time and just call it an accident. Ambassador Carter stormed into the council chamber and demanded justice for the murder of 40,000 humans. She presented evidence from the escape pods and asked for a full investigation. The alien representatives listened with bored expressions and then offered their deep regret for the tragic accident. The Zephyrian delegate even had the nerve to suggest that humans should be more careful when flying their primitive ships. The Council's final decision was a joke that made Carter want to scream. The Zephyrians would pay a fine of 1 million credits for disturbing space traffic lanes, 1 million credits for 40,000 human lives. The crystal aliens paid the fine with casual indifference like they were buying coffee. Their leader made a speech about how sad they were that inferior human technology had failed so badly. Captain Morrison watched the news reports about the second dawn and felt something dark growing inside his chest. For 3 years, he had followed orders to stay calm and be diplomatic. He had watched aliens treat humans like garbage and kept his mouth shut. He had hidden his ship's true weapons and pretended to be weak. But watching alien creatures laugh about murdering children was more than any human could bear. The second incident came just 3 weeks later. Human miners working on asteroid station Omega-7 were told they had to leave immediately to make room for a Vorthon military outpost. The miners had spent 2 years digging valuable crystals out of solid rock. They had built homes and schools and hospitals in the asteroid's tunnels. 300 families lived and worked there in peace. Commander Hayes received the evacuation order and tried to negotiate more time for the families to pack their belongings. The Vorthon commander told him that humans had 1 hour to get off the asteroid, or they would be removed by force. Hayes contacted Earth for instructions, but there was no time to wait for politicians to make decisions. He ordered all civilian ships to help evacuate the mining families. The evacuation was going well until the Vorthon ships opened fire on the civilian transports. The aliens later claimed their weapons malfunctioned, but the attack patterns were too precise to be accidents. Ship after ship was destroyed as families tried to escape. Parents threw their children into escape pods and died when the ships exploded. The Vorthons kept firing until every civilian ship was destroyed or disabled. Dr. Foster lost her brother and his 2 young sons in the Omega-7 massacre. She read their names on the casualty list and felt something break inside her mind. Her brilliant scientific brain started thinking about weapons instead of peaceful exploration. She began designing systems that could turn entire alien fleets into expanding clouds of plasma. The time for hiding human strength was almost over. The Galaxy Council's investigation of Omega-7 was even more insulting than their response to the Second Dawn. They ruled that the Vorthon attack was an internal, military matter and humans had no right to question it. The alien investigator suggested that humans should have evacuated faster if they wanted to live. 300 murdered families were just acceptable losses in the galaxy's grand plan. Ambassador Carter submitted formal complaints about both massacres, but the Council filed them away and ignored them. She was told that humans were being emotional and unreasonable about normal space incidents. The Council chairman Vex Tai called her into his private office and explained the facts of galactic life. Humans existed only because stronger species allowed them to exist. Humans had no rights except what aliens chose to give them. Captain Morrison received new orders from Earth that made his blood boil. All human ships were ordered to stay away from alien military zones. Human colonies could not defend themselves. Even from pirates and raiders, human merchants had to accept whatever prices aliens wanted to pay. Humans were being slowly strangled, and their leaders were still talking about patience and diplomacy. The breaking point came when Dr. Foster's research team was arrested by alien security forces. The charges were ridiculous. Humans were accused of trying to steal alien technology and develop weapons without permission. Foster and her people were loaded onto prison ships and sent to a frozen moon where political prisoners were kept in underground cells. The aliens took all their research and claimed it belonged to the Galaxy Council. Commander Hayes watched his sister's name appear on another casualty list from a different mining station where aliens had decided they needed the space. His parents had died in a transport accident that was probably sabotage. His friends were disappearing into alien prisons on false charges. The patient diplomatic approach was getting humans killed while aliens laughed about it. That night, Captain Morrison sat alone in his quarters and opened a sealed message from Earth that he had been carrying for 2 years. The message contained new orders that would only be opened when human leaders decided that diplomacy had failed completely. He read the words 3 times to make sure he understood them correctly. The age of human restraint was about to end. Quantum burst transmission went out to every human ship station and colony in the galaxy at exactly midnight Earth time. The message was simple and changed everything. Remove all restrictions, reveal all capabilities, show the galaxy what humans had really been building for 3 long years. The aliens had pushed humanity too far, and now they would learn the terrible cost of their cruelty. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and watched the huge alien space station grow bigger on the screen. 3 years had passed since humans first met aliens, and everything had been hard. His ship, the New Frontier, was not the biggest or fastest ship humans had ever built, but it was the one they sent to meet with aliens. The Galaxy Council made all the rules, and humans had to follow them or get kicked out of space. Ambassador Lisa Carter walked into the meeting room, where 50 different alien species sat around a big table. She carried folders full of papers that showed how humans wanted to trade and explore space together with everyone else. The aliens barely looked at her when she spoke. They acted like humans were children asking for candy. Every time she made a good point about human rights or fair treatment, the alien leaders would whisper to each other and laugh. The worst ones were the Zephyrians, who looked like walking glass sculptures. They were tall and sharp, and their voices sounded like breaking bottles when they talked. Their leader would point one crystal finger at Lisa and say things like, humans smelled bad or were too stupid to understand real science. The other aliens would nod and agree, even though most of them had never been to Earth or met many humans. Commander Ryan Hayes sat in his small office reading reports from human colonies across the galaxy. Every week brought new problems. Human traders had to pay extra taxes that alien merchants did not pay. Human ships could only use old slow engines, while aliens had fast new ones that could cross the galaxy in days. Human scientists were not allowed to study certain things that might make humans too smart or powerful. The rules kept getting worse. Humans could only build colonies on dead planets with no water or good soil. The best worlds with oceans and forests were reserved for aliens only. When humans found valuable metals or crystals on their bad planets, the Galaxy Council would send inspectors who took most of the good stuff and left humans with scraps. Dr. Amy Foster worked in a research lab that looked more like a prison than a place for science. The aliens gave humans old broken equipment and said it was good enough for human minds. Her team of brilliant scientists had to use computers that were slower than toys, while alien researchers had machines that could think faster than entire human cities. Every time humans invented something new, the alien overseers would take it away and say it was too dangerous for humans to have. Amy spent her days pretending to struggle with simple problems while secretly working on projects the aliens would never suspect. She and her team had learned to hide their real work behind fake failures and controlled mistakes. The aliens expected humans to be slow and stupid, so humans acted slow and stupid while quietly building things that would change everything. Captain Morrison often walked through his ship late at night when his crew was sleeping. He would stop at certain walls and panels that looked normal, but hid amazing secrets. The New Frontier was not just a diplomatic ship. Hidden behind fake walls were weapons and systems that could destroy entire fleets. Every human ship in space had the same hidden features, but no alien had ever suspected the truth. The hardest part was watching his crew stay quiet when aliens insulted them. Young officers would clench their fists when Zephyrian diplomats called humans carbon-based waste. Experienced sergeants would bite their tongues when Vorthan generals talked about using human colonies for target practice. Everyone knew they could fight back and win. But orders from Earth were clear. Stay calm, be patient. Let the aliens think they are in control. Ambassador Carter returned to her quarters after another day of being treated like garbage by creatures who thought they were gods. She sat at her desk and wrote reports to Earth about every insult and every unfair rule. The human government read her reports and told her to keep trying. They believed that someday the aliens would see humans as equals and treat them with respect. The Vorthan Empire was the biggest military power in the galaxy, and they never let humans forget it. Their representatives wore uniforms covered in medals from wars where they had destroyed entire species who did not obey them. They would show humans videos of planets being blown up and cities being burned. The message was always the same: behave or die. Other alien species were not as openly cruel, but they all treated humans like servants or pets. The peaceful Altarians would pat humans on the head and give them simple jobs like cleaning or carrying things. The smart Keplerians would explain basic science to humans very slowly, like they were talking to small children. Even the friendly Centaurians would offer to help humans with problems that humans had already solved better than any alien could. Commander Hayes got a message from his sister who worked at a mining station near the edge of human space. She wrote about alien ships that would appear without warning and demand free fuel or supplies. Human miners had to give aliens whatever they wanted or face attacks from alien warships. His sister said the aliens were getting bolder and more demanding every month. Dr. Foster made a breakthrough in her secret research, but had to pretend it was an accident. She discovered how to make engines that could move ships faster than any alien technology, but she had to act surprised and confused when it happened. The alien overseers looked at her work and decided it was just a lucky mistake that would never happen again. They took her prototype and gave her a pat on the head for being such a good human scientist. Captain Morrison received new orders from Earth that made him sick to his stomach. Human ships were now forbidden from entering certain areas of space where aliens did their important business. Human colonies could not expand beyond the tiny areas already assigned to them. Human traders could only sell things that aliens did not want for themselves. Humans were being slowly pushed into smaller and smaller corners of the galaxy. The worst part was knowing that humans could change everything in a single day. Every human leader and military officer knew the truth that aliens would never suspect. Humans had been building and preparing and hiding their real strength for 3 long years. They had weapons that could crack planets and ships that could destroy entire alien fleets. They had technology that made alien science look like stone tools and cave paintings. But Earth's leaders kept saying the same thing. Wait, be patient. Let the aliens reveal their true nature. Give them enough rope to hang themselves. Someday, the galaxy would see what happened when peaceful humans were pushed too far. Someday the aliens would learn why it was a terrible mistake to make humanity their enemy.